Flying for the first time or the first time in a long time can be totally exciting, but also a little bit overwhelming. So today I'm going to walk you through the entire process of everything that you need to do before you get to the airport. Then I'm going to have another video that shows you at the airport and so forth. We're going to have a total of 3 or 4 videos in this series. It also depends on your comments in the comment section throughout this video. I'm going to ask you questions and see what kinds of other ideas that you would like me to share, and we'll do update videos for that. But today is all before you even get to the airport. I want you to feel like I'm your good friend who's an avid traveler. I've been to more than 60 countries, hundreds and hundreds of flights, but I still remember what it was like to fly for the first time. And so I want to walk you through everything that you need to know so that when you get to that airport, so when you get on that airplane, you do not feel at all anxious. You feel calm, you feel confident, and you feel like you can take on the world. Because that's really what travel is all about, is taking on the world, right? I want you to feel so confident by the end of this series that you can travel anytime and not feel worried about it. So let's get going. Okay, so before we get going on the actual content of this video, I wanted to explain how I'm going to organize it. Basically, this video is best viewed from start to finish. The way I've got it laid out is exactly what you need to do in the order in order to be the most organized for your trip and to feel the most calm. However, once you get through, don't worry about taking a bunch of notes because you can easily go back through, because I'm going to put in the description the chapter headings. So you can easily go back through any of the chapters and rewatch. So I wanted to make it easy for you, but make sure you watch it from start to finish. That's the best way to view it and to get all of the information in the order that you need to actually do it. And then you can go back and rewatch anything that you need to later on. Okay, now let's really get going. Okay, so for the purpose of this video, I'm going to assume that you already have your flight. Now, if you need tips on how to find flights, please leave me a comment, let me know, and I'll make a whole video on that. But for this video, we're going to assume you already have that flight purchased. So what you need to do is you need to first look at what you bought. You need to see, did I pay for a seat? Did I pay for bags to be brought on board? Let's assume that for the sake of this part of the video, that you paid to bring on a carry-on bag or a checked bag. Now, what you need to do after this point is you can't just bring any bag you want. You need to look and see what your particular airline actually allows you to bring. So let's say you chose Ryanair, for example. You need to find on the website where it tells you your baggage allowance, and they're going to give you measurements and they're going to give you weight. Now, they're not kidding around with these things, you guys. Don't try to skirt the rules. Don't try to bend them. Don't try to think, oh, I'll just go around it. Don't give yourself that stress. Just choose a bag that is, I would say, slightly smaller than what they allow. Because if it is a cloth bag, there's a chance that if you put too much stuff in it, it's going to bulge it out a little bit. And now it's not going to fit into their little special case that they make you put it inside at the airport. And then it's not going to fit and you're going to have problems. So let's just avoid the problems. Let's not give ourselves any stress. We're trying to eliminate stress. We want to be calm. So go a little bit smaller. I have an entire video that I shot. I'm going to put the link in the comments and in this description so you can find it very easily. And it goes through a bunch of different bags that are personal size item bags, and that was for personal size items, but I'll give you the same idea about what you can do for your carry-on bag or your checked bag. Find the measurements. And then we're going to go to the next step, which is you're going to look through the bags that you already own. Do any of those bags work for the measurements? Okay. If none of them do, then you're going to look on Amazon. I can give some links to some different suggestions. Once again, just ask questions in the comments if there's anything that you need additional links for, and I'll help you find it because I love doing this stuff. I don't mind at all. Anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a tape measure out, and you're going to measure all of your bags that you own and see if any of them will work for the requirements. Once you find ones that will work for the measurement size, your next step is to check the weight. I want you to weigh that bag before you put a thing in it. And let me tell you why. This was years ago. This was when they first starting to be really picky on weight on airlines. Before that, they weren't as picky. They were a little bit picky, but not as bad. Okay. I had this giant suitcase. This was before the time that I was a minimalist packer. Okay. That's what I am now. But I will have to admit, I was taking this giant bag with me and I had like hardly anything in it, but it was just this huge bag. And I just could not understand why was it that this bag was always like almost up to the limit. Like it was like, I was like 49.9 pounds. I'm like, why? I hardly had anything in this bag. It was really strange. So I was like, okay, this is weird. I wonder if their scales are wrong at the airport. Of course, thinking it's all them. No. I came back, I weighed that bag, and that bag was 38 pounds. Just the bag. because it had all the metal. It wasn't made to be like lightweight. It was ridiculous. I was like, well, I'm never traveling with that bag again. That's for sure. So, and like I said, it was a huge bag. I want you, like, that's why I'm saying you need to weigh the bag, because especially if it's an older bag, there's a chance that it's not going to be appropriate for you to take anymore on the airlines. It's just, unless you don't want to take anything, you just want to take the bag. If you're allowed 50 pounds for your checked in, or if you're allowed 18 pounds or something for your carry on bag, I want you to take 18 pounds of your belongings, not 17 pounds of bag and 1 pound of belongings. That doesn't seem to make any sense, right? So weigh that bag. If that bag is too heavy, then you're going to need to find a different bag. And so once again, go to Amazon and I can give some links for that as well. But let's just start. Let's start right. Let's make sure that the bag is right to begin with. Okay. Once you have the bag and you've got the weight and the size measurements and it's all perfect, now you can go through the packing process. I've done a bunch of videos on packing. I'll leave them in the description so you can find some of my packing videos and hopefully they are helpful for you. I've mainly focused on backpacks, but if you want carry-on or if you want checked on bags that are not backpack style, please just leave me a comment. Let me know. I will make a video on those items because I used to pack that way as well. I'm just kind of obsessed with backpacks right now, but that's not to say that I won't switch back to checked in bags and carry on roller bags and all this stuff. So I definitely know how to pack all the bags. So just please let me know if you need any of those tips. So you're going to pack that bag based on the advice that I have in those videos or the future advice you're going to get. Now we've got all that done. Now I would actually recommend doing all of these things well in advance of your trip. Okay. That's providing that you purchased your ticket a little ways out. Like if this is a last minute ticket, you're going to have to be more flexible on the timing that I'm saying here. But if this is your first time flying or you haven't flown in a while, give yourself that wiggle room, give yourself that space and time to be able to be like, okay, this is weeks, this is a month, this is whatever before my flight. I've got plenty of time to make sure that I can have a bag delivered. I can find the bag. I can practice packing it. Like I like to practice packing my bag. I like to look for different ways to pack it to see what can fit and what can't fit. Another piece of advice that I have is once that bag is all packed, I want you to drag that thing around. Can you drag it around easily? Can you lift it up and put it over your head as if you're putting it in the overhead bin if it is a carry-on bag? Can you do those things? If it's a backpack, can you carry that thing on your back? I want you to take this around, like maybe for a full day. If it's a backpack, I want you to walk around your town. I want you to go and walk around your yard. Is that too heavy? Just because it's the proper weight doesn't mean that your person can handle it, okay? So I want you to make sure that your trip is comfortable. And so if the bag is too heavy, remove some of the items. Don't carry something that's too heavy. If you can't lift that bag and put it up above and you're flying by yourself, don't rely on the flight crew. Don't rely on your fellow passengers. There will always be someone that will probably help you, but if you can make it lighter, if it's too heavy for you, it might be too heavy for someone else. So let's try to limit that weight, okay? So those are my tips. That's all the packing stuff taken care of. Now let's go into toiletries, okay? This is something that is very important that you make sure that you do. First of all, you are allowed a quart-size bag. Let me get one of those bags to show you. Okay, so I got a quart-size bag. Now, if you don't use quart sizes where you live, this is like 0.94 liters. That's what this bag size is, okay? This is what you're allowed on the flight for toiletries for carry-on bags. Checked bags is a completely different world. They do not care what you throw in your checked bag. They do not care, well, within reason. As far as liquids are concerned, they don't care on the sizes. You can throw in a giant bottle, it doesn't matter. But you still have to keep under the weight, okay? But on a carry-on bag, you're generally allowed this right here. And this is pretty universal throughout the world. All the flights I've ever been on were allowed to have this size of bag for liquids, okay? So, and then you're limited on the size of per liquid. So this is a 3 ounce, and I believe this is the largest size that you can have per item. So let's say you have shampoo, but you needed like twice this amount of shampoo, then just fill 2 bottles. You just can't have, you couldn't have one that's this big, but you could have 2 of them, if that makes sense. But this is all you're allowed to have. So you've got this bottle in here. You'd be able to have 1, 2, like whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of these bottles inside this, and that's it. So that's why I highly recommend, if you can, to try to go as liquid free as possible if you're doing carry-on only, because then it just makes your life easier. Like you can take more things, like do bar shampoo and bar soap and bar conditioner. You can do bar lotions. You can do toothpaste tablets if you want. You can do all kinds of things. you can get now in powder or in, bar format. So I would recommend trying to do that if you can. And then you're not limited. You can take as many of those kinds of things as you want if you're under the weight limit for the entire bag, okay? So I just wanted to show you this. Now, when you pack your bag to actually take on the plane, I want you to, if this is a carry-on, I want you to put this in a very easy to grab spot inside your bag, on the very top, on an outside pocket, someplace that's really easy, because you're gonna have to pull this out when you go through TSA. We're gonna talk about in the airport part, but I just wanted to forewarn you that on the packing part, you need to take that into consideration. This needs to go someplace where you can easily pull it out, and it has to be separate from your luggage when it's going through the x-ray machine. The liquids have to be usually in their own area. Every airport is different, but that's a general rule of thumb. It's just always good because you never know until you get there what they're going to require. So it's nice to be able to say, okay, my liquids are right here. Hurry and pull them out and throw them on the thing, because you just don't want to waste time, right? So anyway, that's what I suggest. However, I also would suggest if you are taking liquids, don't just rely on this little top to stay closed, because sometimes these will come open. Sometimes things will leak out. I've seen different suggestions, like to take a piece of like plastic wrap and open up this jar and actually put it over the top and then close it. A balloon. I've also seen balloons that were suggested. Take a balloon and you cut off the one end to make it bigger and stretchier, and then you put that over. And I think that they put it over the lid. So they put it over the whole thing. You can also just get another little bag and you can put around it and kind of tie it off so that it just keeps it contained. I've had this happen with hundreds of flights that I've taken over the last several years. I've definitely had my problems, but I had some curl cream once in a container a little bit smaller than this, and somehow this got opened a little bit, and it was just curl cream all over my entire toiletry bag. It actually went all over my whole backpack. It was a mess. And I didn't want to lose my product, so I was like scraping it off of the thing and trying to use it. It was really awful. So anyway, I suggest doing something to make it so this won't leak on, because with the air pressure and stuff, that's when things start to expand and start to push out. So that's why it would be a problem. So anyway, this is your bag that you are allowed for your carry-on liquids. Make sure that this is someplace you can easily pull it out quickly when you're going through TSA. Welcome to my closet. I thought it'd be fun to film it in here because our next part, we're going to be talking about what to wear for the actual flight. Okay. So I actually highly suggest, no matter the time of year, I don't care if it's summer, I don't care if it's winter, always wear layers when you're going onto the flight. Okay. The airport, the outside might be plenty warm, but the plane itself, it could either be warm or it could be cold. You just never know. Wear layers. Now I suggest more athletic type wear is some of my favorite things. Let me show you. Okay, I love this jacket right here. This is a very thin athletic jacket that's a really nice, light fabric, nice and cool, but it keeps you cozy and warm if you need it. So it's got a little hood on it. That's nice for a flight too, to kind of snuggle up, especially if it's a long flight. I really recommend jackets like this. Like I said, the fabric is the quick dry fabric. So if you get sweaty at all, and what I like about this kind of thing is because I can tie it around my waist if I don't need it, or I can shove it in my bag because it goes pretty small. I also suggest if you are traveling on a long flight, I suggest you wear comfortable things. I wouldn't highly suggest wearing really tight jeans or anything like that, because you want to be comfortable on the flight. You don't want to be and your body can tend to swell a little bit with the air cabin pressure change. And so just wear something that's comfortable. If you're not comfortable with wearing leggings or athletic wear, all through your whole day before and getting onto the plane, then just take something with you that you can change in the bathroom, the restroom, whatever you call it, wherever you live. It's called bathrooms in the United States. But anyway, just change before you get onto the plane. Just change into your comfortable clothes before you get onto the plane, and then take your other clothes and just kind of tuck them into your bag. You can do that. That would be totally fine. Then when you get off the flight, you can immediately go into the bathroom in the airport and change again back into those clothing if that's what you'd like to do. That's what I would suggest. Just make sure that whatever you're wearing on that plane is very comfortable. I would actually not suggest wearing sandals with bare feet. I would actually always recommend having socks on and some kind of athletic shoes or something like that for the actual flight if you can. And there's a couple reasons for that. If you're trying to get through the airport with all your stuff, it's just more difficult to walk around with slippery shoes or high heels or something. It's just more difficult to do that. So that's why I suggest wearing some really good quality, athletic shoes of some kind, trail running shoes or something like that. Those are always really good. And then also the socks are really important because you're going to want to keep your feet warm. And also It's just kind of disgusting to have, especially if people take off their sandals and then they've got their bare feet on that floor. Number one, it's gross for you to have your bare feet on the carpet of the plane. And number two, it's gross for all the other passengers. They don't need to be seeing your bare feet. That's just gross. So wear some kind of socks, okay? That's what I suggest. Also, it just, like I said, allows you to get through the airport, through the airplane, through all the things easier if your shoes are proper. Wearing flip-flops when you go through security or sandals through security with bare feet is also bad because I'm not sure how many places still make you take off your shoes when you go through there. The US used to, but they don't anymore. And so maybe this isn't a thing even to be concerned about. But if you have to take off your shoes for whatever reason to walk through security, I don't want to walk through that barefoot. That's gross. So socks is recommended, okay? I'm not saying don't bring sandals with you at all. I'm 100% a fan and an advocate of bringing some kind of sandals, flip-flops, or whatever on the plane. Like you can actually have them in, and you could swap them out if you wanted to. Like if you wanted to slide your socks into a pair of Birkenstocks or something, your socked feet into a pair of Birkenstocks, so you can get around easier on the flight. That's totally fine. But I just wouldn't do bare feet at all. Welcome to my pantry now. You just saw my clothing closet. Now you can see my food closet. Anyway, I want to show you some things. So whenever I travel, I usually take snacks with me, no matter if I'm going to be offered food on the plane or not, because I like to have my own things for the flight. But there's just something for you to know. Back in the day, especially in the United States, you used to be able to get more food options on the flights. They would just give you more things, but they don't do that anymore. Most budget flights, most actual regular flights throughout the world are pretty scarce on what they give you. You can't count on food on the flight, especially if it's a long flight. You might get more if it's international. You just can't count on it. So bring some things that you really like for yourself, okay? Let me give you some suggestions of things that I really like to take with me. First of all, I always take some kind of hydration mix, and this is liquid IV. This is the sugar. This one has sugar in it, but you can get no sugar. And basically what this is this little tiny thing right here. You can put this into just a regular water bottle, and it 4 times the amount of water that you've just drank in just hydration. That's what they claim. That's what they say. Or is it 3 times? No, I think, yeah, it's 3 times. Okay, I misspoke. It's 3 times. 1 stick equals 3 times the amount of water. So anyway, I need to make sure I'm clear on what they advertise because it's right here on the bag. So I would take something like this. You can get this from Amazon. Links will be in the description below. But I really love the hydration. There's one that I really love. I'll see if I can give you the link for it. It's there. It's like a popsicle flavor. It's really good. So this, I always make sure I take this because you want to stay hydrated on the flight. Okay, so that's one of the things I always take with me. I also, I really like to take Zip Fizz with me. That's a favorite of mine recently. I try not to drink really any caffeine at all. But when I'm traveling, sometimes I need to. And so I like Zip Fizz. It has some vitamins. It has a little bit of caffeine. It's just really good. And I think I'm showing it to you upside down. Here's the right way. There you go. So Zip Fizz, I take those. And I also take protein bars. I really love Fulfill is a good brand. Built Bar is really good. This, let's see, what is this? RX bar. Those are really good. It's just nice to have some good protein bars. Protein will fill you up more. They're healthier than just eating like a candy bar. Some other things I do like to take is just like maybe a package of crackers. Because if I start feeling yucky to my stomach, like once if I start feeling nauseous, a protein bar isn't going to cut it. I'm going to need some kind of cracker or something to kind of soothe my stomach a little bit. So I always take some kind of crackers with me always, because you just never know when things are going to feel stuffy or something's going to happen. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't feel very good. If you have some crackers, it's just a good thing to have on hand when you're on that flight. Okay, what's something else I always take? If you can, take some fruit. That's always lovely. Sometimes if you're going to another country or another region, they will require that you have eaten that fruit completely before you land. So just keep that in mind. I know that when I go to Hawaii, for example, they're very strict because they can't afford to have you bring in insects and things like that from the fruit that you have brought in with you into that new place. Beef sticks are always really good too. Let me show you something that I really like. There's a couple of brands I really like. This one is just Country Archer brand. I bought this from Costco. Chomps are really good. They have lots of different flavors. These beef sticks are really great. I really love these for just like a shot of protein that is like savory and not sweet, because all those bars I just showed you are sweet, which is fine, but sometimes you want savory. These are really, really yummy. Also, but you will want to make sure that sometimes countries will not allow you to bring in meat products of any kind. So if you do take some, only take some for the flight so you can have it consumed before you land. That's the trick. Another thing that I highly, highly, highly suggest is to take some kind of water bottle. You can take an insulated one, or you can take, just a non-insulated one. It doesn't really matter. They do not care at all about the insulated or not. They don't care about any size of water bottle. You can have any size you want. However, this thing has to be completely empty when you go through security at the airport. Completely empty. You can't have any water in this at all, even if there's a little tiny drop. Sometimes they are so specific, they will literally make you throw away the bottle or go all the way back through security after you've dumped it out. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, I think that there could be better ways to do that, like just letting people dump the water into the trash can and move on through. But, I'm not in charge of the security, so I don't get to have that say. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I've literally watched people have to throw away their bottles. I've had 2 traveling companions that they lost their bottles because it had a little bit of water in it. It's ridiculous. Now, the reason why I'm saying that also is because oftentimes when you're on the way to the airport, you want to make sure you have some water with you because you might get thirsty in the car ride to the airport or the train or whatever. That is great. Make sure you just take a small amount. But as soon as you get to that airport, I want you to make sure that you dump this someplace, in a plant outside, in some place to just get rid of the water before you go through security, have it completely be gone. Then when you go through security, if it's a place that has good filtered water from the water fountains or something like that, then you can fill up that way. Or you can buy some bottled water to fill up your water bottle. And sometimes on the flight, they will fill it up, but I wouldn't count on that. I would just count on filling that up someplace on the other side of security. And like I said, insulated is great because it'll keep it cold. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to point out to you for your snacks is make sure that none of them are liquids. Don't try to take on a yogurt. That doesn't work. That's considered a liquid. Look at the actual airport that you're flying out of. Because like I said, every airport is different on what their expectations are for travelers. And see if you can find a list of things that are okay for you to take through security. Peanut butter is usually a no-go. Yogurt's a no for sure. There's lots of different things that you might be surprised. Well, peanut butter, I wouldn't call that a liquid. Well, they count it as one. I know it's silly. But anyway, so I would just go through, see if you can find on not the airline, but the airport that you're flying out of. See if they have a list of things that are allowed for you to take through security. And then you'll know ahead of time what kind of snacks you can bring on board. Okay, so our next thing that I want to talk to you about was electronics for the flight. These are things that you're going to want to have in your carry-on bag. Okay, first of all, lithium battery packs can never go in your checked bags. There's been lots of stories about that recently. Make sure that nothing like that is in your checked bag. If you're confused at all, just ask at one of the desks or something, but they cannot go in your checked bag, okay? Now let's talk about the rest of your electronics. These are some of the things that I always take with me when I fly. I always take a little power cord, of course. This always goes in my carry-on bag. I only take carry-on only, but let's just assume that I've checked bag. This will still go in my carry-on bag because I need to have this so I can charge any of my devices anywhere I'm at. So this and the way to plug it into the wall, which would be this little adapter right here. This gives me all my adapters. This gives me US and North America, Canada. You've got UK-based system and you've got the EU-based system. So all of those are things that are really handy. And this is really nice because it has your USB-Cs and USB-As, and you can plug in a regular plug. So I really like to take this with me, and it always goes in my carry-on bag with me. So let me just kind of show you. I'll put that right here. These are things I always take. I always take a good pair of earbuds. And in addition to that, I'll take a pair of cheap corded earplugs, the ones that have the aux ending on it that you can plug into like the phone, like an audio jack. That way, if you do have in-flight entertainment, you can plug that in and you can actually watch something or you can listen to something. But I always like to have one of those with me just in case. But I always take the earbuds with me because I might want to just listen to my own movies or my own whatever on my phone. But I also take this. This is the AirFly, and this allows you to plug this into the seat back in front of you, the little aux thing that I was talking about, this little end, AUX, aux. And this allows you to actually watch your in-flight entertainment with your earbuds. So this is really great to have. I really like to have these. I highly suggest having something with you. Not all flights, especially if it's a budget airlines, you are not going to have the back of the seat entertainment, in-flight entertainment. You're not going to have anything like that. So you're going to need to make sure that you take something with you. And that's the next thing that I'm going to suggest is make sure that if you have a tablet or if you have a phone, that you have downloaded music, that you've downloaded movies or books or some kind of something to keep yourself entertained for the flight. Have it on your device, ready to go. Make sure your device is fully charged. Make sure you have some way to charge your device on the plane, which what makes this thing right here very, very helpful. This is just a little power pack. I really highly recommend these. Make sure that it's a good quality one that's not going to catch on fire on the plane. So anyway, just wanted to make sure. I always take this with me right there. Another thing that I always take with me on the flight, this is something new, but I highly suggest this. This is just a little personal fan. I love this. I love this so much, you guys. I've demonstrated this on a few videos, but I really recommend this for the flight because it's just nice to have a way to cool yourself down if the flight gets stuffy or something. It's just nice to have that. And it's nice to have for hot airports too. So these are the things I always take with me, or those items. Let's see what else I have in here that I would suggest. Oh, if it's a short flight, I don't worry about it. But if it's a long flight, I'm going to be in that seat for a while. I always take wet ones. And as soon as I get into my seat, I wipe everything down. I wipe down the in-flight entertainment screen. I wipe down the armrest. I wipe down all of anything that I might be touching. And I use wet ones or Lysol wipes. I don't use Clorox. I don't know if Clorox residue could bleach my clothes. I don't want to take the chance. So I just don't use anything that has that kind of stuff in it. But wet ones, Lysol is preferred. But I couldn't find Lysol wipes the last time at my local store. And so I just bought wet ones and that seemed to be fine. So I'll take those with me. I always take with me my whatever medications I need for my trip. If I have a lot of medications, of course I can put them in a checked bag. That's fine. But I need to have my medications with me that I'll need for the next several days in case they happen to lose my bag. I always make sure I have my required medications with me. And also other kinds of medications are nice for the flight as well. Like get some Dramamine. You never know when all of a sudden you're going to get nauseous on a flight. I would take some. Dramamine is just one version of it's anti-nausea medication. So get something like that and just have it with you. I would also suggest taking some chewing gum because sometimes your ears can get plugged and the only way to help unplug them usually is by movement of your jaw. So chewing the gum will help to remove that pressure. I like to take cough drops with me. I can sometimes, if the air gets super dry on the plane, which it always does, the air always gets dry. Sometimes it'll make me start coughing and I'm like, I'm not sick. Like, why am I coughing? I sound like I have the plague. So I always take some kind of cough drops with me. I think I have some in here. Yeah, this is way too big of a bag. This is overkill. I'll just take maybe a handful of them. Anyway, I do take some cough drops. What other kinds of things do I suggest? I like this foot hammock. This is particularly handy for really long flights. It just makes your experience really nice. Basically, what you do is you're just going to take this and you're going to open up the tray table in front of you and you're going to dangle this on the tray table in the back, lift the tray table back up and close it up. And now it's just kind of hanging there and you can put your feet on this. So it just makes it nice. I really, really like this. Very, very handy to have especially for long flights. Takes the pressure off your lower back. It's really nice. Once again, all the links will be in the description below. So what other kind of things do I take? I think that's really the bulk of what I do take. I'm just looking around to see if there's anything else. I mean, these are nice. These Lysol, don't take Lysol in your mouth. These are like Listerine breath strips and they're just like little pieces of paper and they're just super nice to just have some fresh breath. I like to take these on flights so that I'm not super offensive to the people around me. I was going to mention earlier with the food that I mentioned, please never take food on board that's stinky. Okay, no tuna fish sandwiches, nothing that has strong odors, because this plane is a very controlled environment and the air is recirculated. You can make that plane smell really bad really fast. So please avoid stinky foods. Just wanted to mention that. I thought about that with my breath strips. So I think that's it. Okay, we kind of touched on this a tiny bit in the electronics section when I was talking about things that you'll want to make sure that you have on the flight. And I mentioned the medication. I should have done that in this section, but I did not. So we're just going to kind of combine them all together. So if it's a long flight, especially, I highly recommend this. But even if it's a short flight and you just want to have extra comfort, these are the things that I would suggest to take. Always take along some kind of a blanket. I like to use things that can be used for many different purposes. So this is a pareo. Lava, whatever you want to call them. I got this in Hawaii years and years ago as meant to be like a cover up for the beach. You can use it for that, but you can also use it as a scarf. Demonstrate how cute that scarf is, or you can use it as a blanket. So I would just wear it as a scarf onto the plane. So it's not counted as an extra item or anything. And then I would use it as a blanket on the flight. So it's just really nice because it's very light. It's not really heavy. I mean, because for me, I want something that's comforting, like that will cover me to like stop the draft or the air movement on my skin if I feel cold. But I don't want it to be too super heavy and thick. I just really like a light blanket. So this is perfect. So take some kind of a scarf, a shawl, something that you can also double as a blanket. I always make sure I take eye mask with me. I take this on the flight and I use it throughout my trip as well. Eye mask is very, very important, especially for a long flight, especially ones that you have to sleep. Take some kind of earplugs with you. And last but not least, take along some kind of a pillow. The U-shaped pillows are nice. I actually will use them and stuff my clothes in them. So that's debatable as whether or not that's like a good idea, but I like it because it's nice and firm and it doubles up as a place to put my clothes. But if you would like to just get an inflatable one, those ones are really nice because the air actually is stiffer than the beads that come in the little neck pillows normally. And then you can just collapse them down and fold them up and put them in your bag. They don't take up any space. So the inflatable ones are very nice. I highly recommend those. So that covers what I would take with me as far as comfort items for the flight. I will give you an entire list of those kinds of things, but those are things I would suggest having in just one corralled space. So you can easily pull out a small bag, something like this. I would corral it in something like this, just a small bag, and I would put my eye mask, my earplugs, my electronics, my foot hammock, all my little things, my little items. I would have it corralled in this so I can easily pull it out of my carry-on bag or whatever, and I can easily access it. Now, I like to have it open like this. I like it just because I can use this as a shopping bag later on in my trip. But if you're concerned about things falling out, then just simply tie it off before you put it underneath the seat in front of you. So, and I put my water bottle in here too, filled up. I just don't want anything to fall out. So I just tie it like this. And now I've created a closable bag. So it's just very simple to do it that way. And then like I said, I like this. If you have one that has a zipper, more power to you, use that one. But this is just what I have. I like it because it's lightweight. And then I can use it as a shopping bag later on in my trip. So I recommend doing that. There's a few other items that I want to mention as far as documentation is concerned. You're going to 100% make sure that you have your identification with you. It needs to be in the form of like a driver's license if you're in the US, a passport if you're flying internationally, whatever your country allows for official identification, that is what you're going to need to take with you when you go to the airport, okay? You need to put that in a place where you know exactly where it's at so that when you get up to security or wherever and they ask for it, you can easily pull it out. You can also know that it's always in that spot. So later on, you're like, oh my gosh, did I lose my passport? And you're going through everything in your bag. No, you don't want to worry about that. Please just keep yourself calm and organized and make sure that that passport or that identification goes into the same spot every time. If there's a certain spot in your purse that goes, then that's where it lives. That's its house. It doesn't go anywhere else. I'm just telling you this from experience of lots of flights and lots of disheveled Amy looking through all the bags, looking for things. Don't be that person. It is so stressful and I don't want that for you. So always put your identification, your important documentation in the same place. After you get it out, it goes back in that spot. Even if you have to tie up the line a little bit for a second, you wait, you put it in the spot, you zip up your bag, you're good to go. Don't be just walking off and thinking, I'll just put it in later, put it in your back pocket. No, don't do any of that. Okay. Also, your phone needs to make sure that you have a spot for your phone all the time. Keep it in the same spot all the time. These are just things that I've learned the hard way. Okay. Now, if you have a paper boarding pass, you'll also want to make sure that that is in the same place with your other documentation, with your identification and stuff like that. That's just good to have it in those spots. I have little notes here so I don't forget anything. Let's see. You might want to just get like, if you don't have like a spot in your purse that this works for, get some kind of a little pouch, a little folder, some kind of little zipper thing. And all of those things always live in that space. So anyway, like I said, organization is key. Make sure you have your passport. Make sure your passport isn't going to expire. If you're traveling outside the United States and you're a US citizen, and I want to say this just for the US part, but I think this is a pretty global thing. Most countries do not allow you into their country if your passport is going to expire within 6 months. They don't even allow you in. So you need to find out the requirements for the countries that you're going to and make sure that your passport meets those requirements. Sometimes they also require that your passport has lots of like, it has to have at least like maybe 4 pages of blank pages or they don't let you in. So those are all different kinds of things that you need to look at in advance, well in advance of your trip. If you're going international, no matter if you're a US, if you're whatever citizen, I'm pretty sure this is standard across the board. You're going to want to look, what country am I going to? What are the requirements for visa, for my passport pages, and for passport expiration? Those are things that you're going to need to look at to make sure that you have enough time to take care of that before your trip. Okay, I think I've covered everything except for, before you go, what I would do also is they say to take a photograph or like a photocopy of your passport. So take a photocopy of your passport and have the paper copy someplace in another place in your bag. That's helpful. Make sure you also take a picture of the barcode, not only the picture page, but also the barcode page that's usually in the back of the passport. Make sure you take that. Also have your identification. That would also be helpful to have a paper copy of that. However, for me, I don't actually do the paper copy. I actually just take a photograph with my phone, and then I save that on my phone. And my phone, that's then saved onto the cloud. So if my phone gets lost, it's okay because I can still access the cloud from another device. It's from a computer, from wherever. I just need to be able to log into my Google account and I can access my shared photos, and it'll have my passport, have all that stuff on there. That's how I save it. That's how I do it. But a lot of recommendations is to have paper copies as well. I just prefer just not having more paper with me that I could potentially lose. I don't want to lose a passport page someplace and have that be out there. I would rather just have it be a photograph. So that's what I do. That's what I would recommend myself because that's what I do. Was there anything else I needed to tell you about? I think that's it. Okay, let's go into the next section. Okay, so we are back at the computer because we're going to talk about the next part, which is the day before your flight. Well, actually about maybe a week before your flight. I just want you to get on and verify that everything is still okay with your flight arrangements. Make sure there hasn't been any changes in your flight, all those kinds of things. I just want you to double check. Just get on the airline's website, type in your reservation number. That's what it's going to be called. That's how you're going to find all of your information, is that they would have sent you an email, or when you booked your flight, when you printed out the information, there's going to be some kind of confirmation or a reservation number on there. Every airline is going to call it something slightly different, but you're looking for your number that proves that you bought that ticket. So generally when you go into an airline, they're going to have you put in that number and your last name. That's generally how I've seen it done. Also, you may just be able to go right to the app on your phone because some airlines actually want you to use an app. And the app is really easy to get. No matter if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android type device, you can just go to the Play Store. This is the place where you get apps normally, and you're just going to get the app for that airline. You're going to download it. Then you're going to be able to just enter in your reservation or your confirmation number, your last name, just like you would do on the website. And then you're going to just be able to look at your information about your flight that you purchased. Just double check the flight times, make sure that nothing's been changed. Most likely they would have emailed you if there's been a major change in your flight time or something. Make sure everything's okay. If it's a budget flight, you most likely can't talk to anybody. So you're just going to have to look on the page and just look at everything and make sure everything's okay. Just double check. Okay, that's a week before. Let's see if there's anything else that I wrote down for a week before. No, not really. Now, I just wanted to note that some airlines will allow you to check in 24 hours in advance. Some airlines allow you to check in way in advance. Now, for example, I believe Ryanair, and I don't want to speak completely for Ryanair because I don't remember, but I want to say it's like 60 days in advance you can check in for your flight. It could be wrong. I will double check and I'll put the real number up here someplace so that you know. But I'm just giving you an example that every airline is slightly different. But you can only do that if you bought like a seat or if you bought like the upper version. And you can check in farther in advance, which is really nice because then you can print out your boarding pass. Now, keep in mind, okay, when it comes to boarding passes, they might be available like way in advance like Ryanair is, but some of them are only advanced 24 hours before your flight. That's when check-in will start. That's the most common, is 24 hours before your flight, which is what we're going to go into next. 24 hours before your flight, you're going to be allowed to check in for most airlines. Everybody needs to check in for the flight. That is a requirement. I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear. Check in for your flight is required, and you're going to need to do that either through the app or the website, one of the two. You can also check in at the airport, but sometimes they charge you for that, especially if it's a budget airline, okay? So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to pull up the confirmation number like I just mentioned. It's going to be in your travel documents, either in the email or the paper that you printed or whatever. You're going to have a confirmation number and your last name. You're going to put it into the app or you're going to put it in the website at 24 hours or less before your flight. I highly suggest actually checking in as soon as you can. As soon as that 24-hour window opens, I suggest actually checking in then. Some people say wait till the very end, you're going to get better chances for seats. And I don't really understand that because I would think you'd have the best chances at the beginning. But I don't know. I choose beginning because I don't want to take chances where I'm not going to get a seat or something because I've waited too long or something weird's going to happen, or maybe the internet could go out and then I can't check in at all. I just check in as soon as the 24 hours are available. That's what I do. Like I said, you do that on the app or the website, and they're going to go through a series of questions. If you've already paid for your carry-on bag or your checked bag, they're going to verify those things. You're just going to click all the little boxes the way you need to. If you didn't pay for any of that stuff, then you're also going to verify that you're not bringing those things with you. If you've changed your mind and you actually do need to have a carry-on or a checked bag, you can actually change your mind right then when you're checking in, and you can select it and you can pay the money right then to bring it on. You can do that. Just wanted to point that out. On most airlines, they allow that. So I'm trying to think of what else you need to know about that process. Oh, you may have chosen your seat when you booked your flight. If you did, your seat's all done. Just verify it's still the same seat. All's good. Now, if you did not select a seat because you didn't want to pay for that option, because most of the time that's a paid feature, this is when you're going to have the seat. They're going to offer you again. Are you sure you don't want to choose your seat because you can pay again? If you want to, you can. That's great and fine. And actually, to be totally honest, if I have never flown before, or if I haven't flown for a long time, I think I would splurge and I would choose my seat. Just because you want to make this experience as pleasant as possible, and selecting your seat is one of those things that make it pleasant. Okay, we can go into a whole video. Leave me a comment in the comment section if you would like me to do an entire video on like my recommendations for seat selection, like the best ones and all that kind of stuff. I'd be happy to make a video on that. I don't want to get too into it in this video, so I'm going to get too off track. It's already going to be long enough as it is because I'm trying to give so many details to make sure that you're very prepared before you get to the airport. But seat selection, I would opt to pay for that if I was a first time or haven't flown for a long time. And I personally, well, it all depends on you. If it's a short flight and I haven't flown, I'm going to choose a window seat because I want to be able to see outside that plane because it is so beautiful, you guys. It's such a beautiful experience. Even if it's a long flight and I don't get claustrophobia, and I don't, get anxious in tight spaces, because if it's a budget flight, the seats are going to be more narrow, the width between the seats. I would consider on the window seat if it's a super long flight. But if it's a short flight, definitely would I take a window seat. My other option, of course, is aisle seat. You never want to select a middle seat, you guys. Never, ever, 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 never, ever select a middle seat. Those are like the worst seats in the world. Even if you're traveling with somebody, what I would suggest doing is one person takes a window and one person takes an aisle, or both of you take aisles and you sit across from each other like that, and you let other people have the junk seats. Like, if you have the option and you're paying for it, do not pay to sit in the middle seat ever. Okay. That's just my 2 cents. So, anyway, so if that's what I would suggest. Now, if you don't have the money to do that, then please don't stress about it. Just allow the airline is just going to randomly select and just select you into whatever seat's available. And they're just going to give you a seat as soon as you fully check in. Okay. So let's say we've gone through the whole process. We've verified we're not taking anything flammable on board. We're verifying we're not taking any knives. Like I said, make sure that whatever you're taking on that plane can go through security too. Do not take anything sharp. Don't take come on, guys, let's use our common sense. You can't take knives, guns, fireworks. We can go through the whole list. I'm just saying, like, we could actually provide a list for you if you're unsure about the things. A lot of it's common sense of things that you couldn't take on a plane, but maybe you just need to have some reminders, and I'm more than happy to provide that. I'll give a list someplace for those, or at least a link of where you can find the list so that you can verify that you're not taking any of that stuff in your luggage. So now we're all checked in. We verified that we didn't bring any of those things. We click the last button and boom, up on our screen, either our computer screen or on our phone on the app, we're going to say, okay, you're all checked in, and they're going to give you a QR code. That QR code is your boarding pass. Okay. Now, some airlines don't actually have the QR code. They still have the old-fashioned like long strip barcode. And with those ones, you actually need to print off your boarding pass. So airlines like Ryanair and different places like that, the budget flights will tell you must print off the boarding pass in advance, because if you show up to the airport and you don't have the paper printed, we will charge you like 80 pounds or something crazy. You don't want to pay that because maybe your ticket only cost you 40 pounds. I mean, come on, for a piece of paper, get real. So print it off in advance. Even if you're unsure, just print it off. Just print off a copy of it just in case they want it printed, just print it off just as a backup, okay? Because this is the next thing. If it's on your phone or if it's on your computer, if it's on your computer, it's going to be emailed to you. The boarding pass will probably be emailed to you so you can access it from your phone. However it comes to you, whenever you actually see it on your phone itself, I want you to take a screenshot, a screen clipping of that QR code. Immediately, I want you to save, because that's going to save on your phone. It's going to be on your phone as a screenshot, okay? Then you're going to have to know where to find those, of course. But now you have your boarding pass, because if you don't have that QR code, you can't get through security and you can't get on the plane. So if for some reason your phone doesn't have like any internet and you can't access the app or whatever it is, you may not be able to get that QR code. If you have it saved in your phone as a photo, as a screenshot photo, you can still access it. So I highly recommend, as soon as you get that, screenshot it, done, I got it. On that little boarding pass with the QR code, it's going to tell you a lot of important information, usually the terminal that you're flying out of. If it doesn't, I'm going to tell you later about how to find that information in the next video, but possibly the terminal and the gate, possibly. It depends on if that has been already determined and in the scheduling of where that airplane is going to be at the airport on that exact time. It might be determined later. Possibly the terminal, possibly the gate. It will definitely tell you your seat assignment. It's going to tell you that, and it'll have your name on it and the QR code. So that's it. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to suggest to you for before you leave. Okay, so we've got everything done. Now we're just going to talk about when you're actually going to leave to the airport. Okay, so everybody has their opinions on when you leave to the airport. Well, when you arrive to the airport, let's say that. When should I arrive to the airport? That's a common question. Now, if you're flying domestically, generally you don't need to go as early as international flights. So what they recommend, these are, I believe this is across the board. Now, you're going to want to check on your specific airline's website or the airport that you're flying in and out of, because every place is different. Some airports are really, really, really busy. Some aren't as busy. So you'll have to just want to look at the airport website and see what they say. But according to what I have here, a general rule of thumb is for domestic, arrive 1.5 to 2 hours early. Arrive at the airport, ready to go through security 1.5 to 2 hours before your flight is set to depart. International is 2.5 to 3 hours early. That is to arrive at the airport. Let's say you're flying international, 2.5 to 3 hours early. Because there's a lot of things you're potentially going to have to go through for these flights. For one, you have to go through security. That security line could be super long. You never know. You never know what you're going to encounter, especially during really peak times of travel. That line could be really, really, really long. If you're stuck in that security line and your plane is leaving, they don't care. The plane's leaving. You're not on it. You're not going. So make sure that you are at the gate well in advance of that boarding time. Boarding time is actually more important to look at than departure time. Those are the two times that are probably going to show up on your ticket. It's going to tell you what time the plane is going to start boarding, and that means they're letting people on the plane, and what time it's actually going to be leaving into the air. Departure time is way past. Like, they're going to close that gate a long time before departure time, because that means the plane's already out on that one runway and it's taking off. That's departure time. So departure time, I actually don't even want you to even really think about. I want you to look and see boarding time. When is that plane set to actually start letting people on the flight? That's the time that you need to be at the gate. The gate is the place where your plane is actually docked up to, or it's the place that they're allowing you to go get on a little bus and go out to your flight. It's where you're entering the process of getting on the airplane. That's the gate, okay? So, and also I think I'm going to do this for you as well. I'm going to make up a list of terminology so that all of these things will be clear, because if this is not an everyday thing for you, you're gonna be like, what does terminal mean? What does gate mean? What does all these things? You're not going to know. So I just want to make sure that you have all the terminology clear so that you feel comfortable in all. When someone says these things, you're going to know what they're talking about. Okay. All right. So I think that we've covered everything in this video that I've wanted to share. This is everything that you're going to want to do before you actually go to the airport. This is all of the preparation, all of your time preparation, all of your packing preparation, all of your everything preparation to get yourself ready to actually get to the airport, what to wear, all the stuff. We covered everything. Now, one of the things that we didn't cover that I want to actually make sure that I talk about is just keeping your excitement, keeping calm, and not letting yourself get nervous, because there's literally nothing to get afraid of about flying. If you would like to go through this video again, if you have any other questions that I have not answered or things are unclear, please, I want you to ask me questions in the comments below so that I can clarify anything that you are confused about. Let's make sure that you feel so comfortable for your flight that you feel like you've done this a million times. And people are going to think that you're a frequent flyer. They're not going to realize that this is your first time on a plane, or they're not going to realize that this is your first time in 30 years on a plane. I want you to feel absolutely confident with this entire process. So, like I said, watch this video several more times if you need to. Click on the different chapters in the description if that's helpful. I'm also going to provide you with a guide that I'm going to link in the description. I'm going to have a typed up guide that you're gonna be able to click on, print off, and it's gonna have a lot of this information for you so you can kind of follow along, make sure that you've got all the checklists, all the kind of things ready to go for you. I've made that up for you. What else have I done for you? I think that's it. I just want you to have a good trip. And that is why I'm making these videos. I just want you to enjoy your travel experience just as much as I have. So stay tuned. I'm going to have the next one is number 2 of this series, and it's going to be when you get to the airport. What are you going to encounter? What is it going to be like? I want you to feel absolutely confident in all of those processes. And then I think the number 3, I haven't decided yet for sure what number 3 is. If it's going to be actually on the flight itself, it might be, I haven't decided yet. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has been helpful for you. Please leave comments. Please reach out. I want to be able to provide content that is helpful for you. And in the meantime, I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.